Right now, somewhere in America, someone is signing a 30-year mortgage on a house they can barely afford. And 2 blocks away, someone else is renting an apartment convinced they're throwing money away. One of them is about to make a huge mistake. And here's the uncomfortable part. It might not be the renter. Everyone has a strong opinion about renting versus buying. Almost nobody has actually run the real math with real 2026 numbers all the way through. So that's exactly what we're doing today. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you 5 specific tips that tell you exactly which side of this decision you actually belong on based on your own numbers, not internet opinions. So stick with me until the end because tip number 5 alone could save you tens of thousands of dollars on your next housing decision. Before we start, hit subscribe because this channel exists to break down the exact math behind decisions like this one, using real numbers instead of guesses. And next week's breakdown might be the one that saves you the most money yet. Let's set up the comparison. Person A buys a home in 2026. Person B rents the exact same type of home in the exact same neighborhood. Same starting income, same starting savings, same city. The only difference is one decision. Let's start with person A, the buyer, because buying looks simple on the surface but has far more moving parts underneath. In most major US cities in 2026, a modest starter home costs somewhere around $350,000. With a typical 10% down payment, that's $35,000 out of pocket before person A even gets the keys. Then there's the mortgage itself. At current average rates, that's a monthly payment of roughly $2,100 before taxes and insurance are even added in. Add property tax, homeowner's insurance, and private mortgage insurance, and the real monthly number climbs closer to $2,600. And that's before a single thing breaks. A new roof, a dead water heater, a cracked foundation. Home ownership comes with a silent, unpredictable expense line that renters never see. Most financial planners estimate maintenance and repairs alone average 1 to 2% of the home's value every single year. On a $350,000 home, that's another $3,500 to $7,000 a year, quietly disappearing whether person A wants to spend it or not. Now, let's look at person B, the renter, because renting has a reputation problem that the math doesn't actually support the way people think. Person B rents a similar home for $2,200 a month. No property tax, no maintenance bills, no surprise roof replacement. But here's the part almost nobody accounts for. Person B still has that original $35,000 that person A used as a down payment. Instead of putting it into a house, person B invests it into an index fund. At a historical average return of around 8 to 9% a year, that $35,000 alone, left completely untouched, grows to roughly $155,000 over 20 years. And that's before person B invests a single additional dollar. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because renting is almost always cheaper month to month than owning once you include taxes, insurance, and maintenance. In this example, that gap is roughly $400 a month in person B's favor. If person B takes that $400 monthly difference and invests it every single month for 20 years, at that same 8 to 9% average return, it grows to approximately $230,000. Combine that with the original $35,000 down payment investment, and person B's total investment portfolio after 20 years is worth somewhere around $385,000. Now, let's check on person A, the homeowner, after that same 20 years. Assuming modest 4% annual appreciation, that original $350,000 home is now worth approximately $767,000. After 20 years of mortgage payments, person A has paid off the loan and now owns the home outright. Their equity is the full $767,000. On paper, that number completely dwarfs person B's $385,000 in investments. Home ownership wins, right? Except here's a twist nobody puts in the headline. We haven't subtracted everything person A actually spent to get there. 20 years of maintenance and repairs at that 1 to 2% annual estimate adds up to somewhere between $70,000 and $140,000 over 2 decades. 20 years of property tax and insurance, which renters never pay directly, adds up to another significant chunk, often $80,000 to $120,000 depending on the location. When you subtract all of that from person A's $767,000 in home equity, their real adjusted net gain drops to somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000. Suddenly, the gap between owning and renting isn't nearly as dramatic as it first appeared, And in some high tax, high maintenance markets, it can shrink even further. But here's something crucial we haven't touched yet. This entire math completely changes depending on which city you actually live in. So let's run these same numbers in two very different real world markets. First, let's go to a high cost city, somewhere like San Francisco, where the average starter home costs closer to $1.2 million instead of $350,000. At that price, a 10% down payment isn't $35,000 anymore. It's $120,000, an amount most average earners simply don't have sitting around. Monthly mortgage payments on a home that expensive, including tax and insurance, often exceed $7,500 a month. Meanwhile, renting a comparable home in that same San Francisco neighborhood might cost $4,200 a month, a difference of over $3,000 every single month in the renter's favor. If that renter invests just that monthly difference alone at 8 to 9% average returns, it grows to well over $2 million in 20 years, before even counting the original $120,000 down payment sitting in the market instead. In extremely high-cost cities like this, renting and investing the difference frequently, mathematically, crushes buying, sometimes by a margin of $1 million or more. Now, let's flip to the opposite extreme. A lower-cost city, somewhere like Columbus, Ohio, where the same starter home costs closer to $220,000. A 10% down payment here is just $22,000, dramatically more achievable for the average earner. Monthly mortgage payments, including tax and insurance, come out to roughly $1,600 a month. Renting a comparable home in Columbus might cost $1,450 a month, meaning the renting discount here is only about $150 a month, nowhere near the San Francisco gap. In a market like this, that small monthly difference barely compounds into anything significant over 20 years, while the homeowner is steadily building equity in a home that's appreciating on a much more affordable base price. In lower cost cities like this, buying frequently wins by a wide margin because the monthly rent versus own gap is simply too small to make renting and investing worth the trade-off. So the real lesson here isn't that renting or buying universally wins, it's that your specific city might already be answering this question for you, whether you've noticed it or not. The bigger the gap between your local rent and your local mortgage payment, the more renting and investing tends to make sense. The smaller that gap, the more buying tends to make sense. Which one actually wins? Here's the honest answer. It depends entirely on where you live, how long you stay, and what you personally do with the difference. And that brings us to the 5 tips I promised you, the ones that actually tell you which side of this decision fits your specific situation. Tip number 1, use the price to rent ratio before you decide anything. Divide the home's price by the annual rent for a similar property. Below 15, buying usually makes more sense. Above 20, renting usually wins. Tip number 2, know your break-even timeline. Buying typically only outperforms renting if you stay in the home for at least 5 to 7 years because closing costs and selling fees eat heavily into short-term gains. Tip number 3, never skip the opportunity cost of your down payment. If you're not mentally investing that money in the renting scenario, you're not comparing these two options fairly at all. Tip number 4, budget maintenance as a real, non-negotiable expense from day one, not a surprise. Set aside 1 to 2% of your home's value every single year, whether you spend it or not. Tip number 5, and this is the one most people completely ignore. Buying a home is partly a financial decision, but it's also a stability decision. If a fixed monthly payment protects your mental health and your long-term planning, that value is real, even if it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. So here's the real, honest answer to renting versus buying in 2026. It was never actually about which option makes you richer on paper. It's about which option matches your specific timeline, your specific market, and your specific tolerance for unpredictable expenses. Run your own price to rent ratio. Calculate your own break-even year. Be honest about whether you'd actually invest the difference if you rented instead. That's the exact math, laid out completely with nothing hidden and nothing skipped. Now, the decision is entirely yours to make, based on your own numbers. If this actually changed the way you think about your next housing decision, hit like on this video right now before you forget. Subscribe to this channel because every single video here breaks down a real, major money decision using real numbers, not opinions, not guesses, and not guru advice. Drop a comment right now telling me which one you'd choose in your city, renting or buying, and what your actual price to rent ratio looks like. I'll be reading through every single comment and I'll pick the best one to turn into next week's exact math breakdown. One last thing before you go. This video is for educational purposes only. and it's not personal financial advice. Always speak with a licensed financial advisor or real estate professional before making any major decision with your own money. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.